All right, let's dive in. We're going to talk about something huge, a massive shift in how our world works. But it's so quiet you might have missed it entirely. We're talking about power and how it's completely changed its form into something that doesn't have to answer to anyone.
It all starts with this really bold idea, especially if you've ever felt like you're up against forces you just can't see or confront. And it's this: power did not disappear. Nope, it just changed form. It became less visible, right? Less direct. And because of that, it's become so much harder to challenge. And that's really the core idea we're going to unpack today. So, to really get a grip on where we are now, we've got to take a step back. We need to look at the world we used to know, a world where you could actually see power, where it had a face. And you can see that shift so clearly right here. It's a move from a person to a process. Back then, power was a king, a judge, your manager. You knew exactly who was making the call. But now it's a system, an output, an algorithm. It's an architecture, not a person. And because power had a face, the rules were pretty clear, right? You could see it, you could argue with it, you could even resist it. And this is the big one. There was always a door to knock on. Even if that door was slammed in your face, at least you knew which door to knock on.
And that brings us to right now, to the silent system. This is all about the rise of what we're calling invisible judgment.
So, what exactly is invisible judgment? Well, think of it like this. It's when human decisions, our priorities, our biases, get coded into an automated system, and then that system just runs. It makes those judgments over and over at a massive scale, and it never, ever has to explain why.
And this is the really huge change, you guys. Power has basically stopped talking to us. It doesn't argue, it doesn't explain itself, it doesn't justify its decisions, it just spits out a result, and the how and why stay hidden inside a total black box. Okay, so that's the big picture. But what does this actually feel like for you and me, just trying to get by in this new world? Let's talk about what rejection feels like in the age of algorithms.
I mean, think about applying for a job, right? It's not like the old days, where you get a letter from a hiring manager saying thanks, but no thanks. Now, your resume is just filtered out. An automated system kicks it out before a human being probably ever even lays eyes on it.
Or hey, maybe you're a creator online. Your video doesn't get a big red banned stamp on it. No, the algorithm just quietly deprioritizes it. It starves it of an audience until it basically vanishes.
And let's say you're applying for a loan, or maybe a school program. You don't get a phone call telling you no. Your application just never surfaces. It never even makes it to the pile for a person to look at. In every one of these cases, the rejection is silent, and it happens before anyone has even really considered you. The psychological difference here is just massive. It used to be that exclusion was loud. You got a rejection letter, you heard a firm no, there was a clear boundary, and you could react to it. But now exclusion is silent. You send an application into the void and hear nothing back. You post something you're proud of and get no response. It's this awful, unsettling feeling of being completely invisible. So you have to ask, how did we let these systems become the judges of our lives? Well, a lot of it comes down to this myth that they're somehow neutral. And that gets us to this idea of an algorithm as a frozen decision.
See, what's so important to remember is that every single algorithm starts with a human being. A person, or maybe a team of people, sits down and decides what's important. They set the priorities. And then that very human, very subjective judgment gets buried in lines of code. And from that point on, the code just runs on autopilot, forever, applying that original decision over and over, no matter how much the world changes.
Which brings up a really fascinating question, right? If we all know that human judgment isn't perfect, why on earth would we design systems that completely remove any chance to disagree or appeal? And the answer is actually pretty simple, but it's also incredibly profound. The goal was to be more efficient, to get rid of all that messy human friction. But here's the thing. That friction, the hesitation, the arguments, the need to get on the same page, that is exactly where accountability lives. So by designing friction out of the system, we accidentally designed out accountability too. And what we're left with is, well, it's power without a person. It's a system that's making life-altering judgments about you without ever even knowing you. And this is maybe the most painful paradox of our time. Because the process is so systemic, so impersonal, the failure feels intensely personal, right? There's no one to get mad at, no one to plead your case to. There's just the system's output and you. And the psychological impact of that is just huge. We start to blame ourselves. We think, well, I guess I'm just not good enough, or my work must not be relevant. So instead of protesting or fighting back, the resistance becomes internal. It's psychological. We just quietly adapt, trying to change ourselves to please an invisible system.
And that leads to maybe the most chilling insight of all. The system doesn't hate you. It's not out to get you. It doesn't even know you exist. And somehow that complete and utter indifference is so much worse than just being disliked.
And this, right here, is how modern power gets away with it. This is how it escapes scrutiny. It's not through force, not through intimidation. It's through abstraction. It hides its biases and its judgments behind this shiny veil of code and math and the illusion of perfect, objective neutrality.
So we're left with this final, massive question. In this rush to automate everything, where did that messy, inefficient, but ultimately accountable human judgment disappear to? And in a world that's increasingly run by these silent systems, can it ever come back? And maybe more importantly, should it?